Hello again. This is Kenny Fikes. I am your host of the I Know Media Roundtable, where we bring you conscientious clarity through empirical experience alongside reasoned application and analysis. How are you guys today?
Doing well. Hey guys, I'm Elisa Simmons. I'm from East Texas, or I live in East Texas. I'm not from East Texas, and I'm I'm so disappointed that we're gonna have tonight's conversation. That it's needed.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Jay Ellis. I was born and raised in New York City, but I have called Houston my home for the last 10 years. I'm a physician, I'm a mom of 3, and I'm a really concerned citizen. So this is a good place to be tonight.
Well, we're all tired, but I think that's a part of the point. So we are sick of talking about Donald Trump. We're sick of talking about a lot of the craziness. We're sick of talking about the racism that was beneath the surface. But I've made the analogy before, like a good burn in a forest. Sometimes you have to burn things down to get new growth. And we certainly have our current president to think about that. People who are of a certain ilk may or may not believe what I'm about to say, but it is true. As much as we talk about Donald Trump, and we seem to have some consensus on this show about who he is, our aim really wasn't, and still isn't, to go in on Trump and to talk about Trump and to be extremely political. But our aim has been to really try and do what I say at the top of the show, provide some clarity through analysis. And it's just very difficult to, as an analogy, when I see 2 pegs and 2 pegs, to not tell you that they add up to 4 pegs. And so we try our best to just analyze what we see is behavior. And unfortunately, this man continues to give us childlike buffoonery and low character. And so that's what we're analyzing. We're not analyzing this from the perspective of the left or the right or Republican or Democrat. We're analyzing it from what it means to be a leader and what he's put it out there. You know, I've said before, would you let your daughter date this man? Would you want this man to marry your mom? Would you want this man to be alone with any of your children, you know, coaching them or tutoring them or whatever? He wouldn't tutor anyone, but just who he is. So I wanted to say that at the top of the show. That is not our point. It's just very difficult to have any other kind of analysis if you have a brain and you don't have an agenda. There is no agenda. So recently in a rally, I believe last weekend in Minneapolis, Minnesota, he went in on the horse race, sort of the horse genetics. And he was essentially touting white supremacy, and the country barely noticed. He was talking about their genetics. And at the end of it, he said, have a good time with your refugees. And for those who don't know, lots of Somalians are settled in the Minneapolis area, including Ilhan Omar, who is an American citizen and a U.S. representative. So with that being said, I know we get tired of talking about him, and no diatribe for me on it, but I think that's part of the point. Is important to keep the conversation going, because it would be easy to say this is crazy and just start ignoring it. And now it would be worse, and then it would be worse than it is. So Jay, why don't you start us off tonight?
Well, I do want to address, you know, when you opened the show and you said that you talked about us trying to separate kind of race from politics. I think that we can't. And the reason we can't is because racism continues because of legislation and law. And the manifestations of racism only change when we get political, right? And we have to work with our elected officials to affect policy change and hopefully lives change. And while we're doing that, there are going to still be a lot of people who have racist notions. We can't really change that, but we have to address politics. And in the case of our current commander-in-chief, he brings race to the forefront in a very, very destructive way. And I think that given everything that he does and the fact that he's not very presidential, it all comes together. We have to address it because he doesn't have the decorum not to say things that are polarizing. And in fact, he chooses to. And he chooses to kind of pander to the worst side of human beings. And so we have to keep addressing these things because he's really just outrageous. And I think to even call him childish is an insult to children because he's beyond that. As for, what he did in Minnesota, I guess we're not surprised. I think that we should prepare ourselves to hear more and more dog whistles at his campaign rallies. And I bet you, especially in light of all of the new things that are coming to light, and I think he feels more and more threatened about this election. I think he feels more and more fearful that he will not win this election. I think we should anticipate hearing more dog whistles from him. I think we should anticipate seeing him cater to the worst side of his supporters. And he's going to do things like, I think he's very insincere and disingenuous. I think he's the kind of person who stands in front of a crowd like he did, and he tells them what great genes they have, right? Because you want to get them on your side. Ingratiating, insincere, but they buy it, and he knows that. And then inherent to that message is, you got these great genes. Not everybody has your genes. It just so happens that we are in a part of America where everybody, you are descended from people who are blonde-haired and blue-eyed, by the way. That's how you got those genes, those great genes that those other people don't have. And he sends them away with the message that they're superior to others. And for some people, that's all that it takes. You need to feel superior to other people. And it's a very destructive thing to do. He's very clever in this way, and he's intentional. And I think we should expect to see more and more and more of that until even probably beyond election day, whether or not he wins this election. What I think.
I hung out with my pastor today. By the way, my daughter and I went to church for the first time since March or April today. We were masked up, but afterwards, my pastor and I met up and we rode motorcycles and did some things and ate some food at his house. And he asked me if I thought that Donald Trump was simply crazy like a fox or racist. I said both. What do you got, Elisa?
I personally was coming in tonight's show and thought that you two would have been flipped on Donald Trump because of his introduction of the Platinum Plan. And I thought the black people are supposed to like him now. So I thought y'all were going to be in a better mood about Donald Trump. That's what I was thinking. But I guess I was wrong, Jay. No, I think that even with that plan, like if you talk about the ideal that racism's not a big issue in our country, and Trump loves to tout those facts that I hate how he says it. The blacks are doing the best. I've done the most for the blacks. I hate. Oh my God, I just want him. But if black people, if black Americans are doing so well, why do you need this Platinum Plan? If racism isn't an issue, why do you need this Platinum Plan? But what I think, Kenny, how you were just saying, is he crazy like a fox or racist, and the both? I think he knew that you could then say to black Americans, well, look at this plan he put together. He put this plan together for you. But then to his racist Americans, it's like, see, I gave the Negroes a plan just to help their community and they're still not happy. And that's how racist Americans are going to view that plan, that here the government is bailing them out again, and they're still not happy with him. So those people can't be happy. And I think that's what we have to see about, if you really believe in the American dream and you're really patriotic and you really respect the ideal of creating a more perfect union, you have to see the destruction that Donald Trump's words are doing, and the fuel he's putting on the people who already feel like their country's been lost to them.
So question, as you transitioned to talking to us about black or African Americans, you said he would sell to some of his racist supporters. I think you may not have said racist, but you implied it, at least because of what they thought. You said he's selling it to these Negroes. Is that like a new underground way that they communicate, like something that you're
I don't know enough racists to do that. No, it's just how I feel like when I feel like when some white people don't want to be racist and they don't want to use the N-word, but they don't want to say African American, that I feel like Negro was a respectful way to say black, right? Like that was the acceptable way.
So you were in Tyler, Texas, a white person who wouldn't want to be openly racist in Walmart or at you were talking about your farm, so no one thinks that I'm stereotyping you, but before the show started, Elisa was telling us about her farm. So if you see someone at Tractor Supply, and have you heard anyone say Negro? I haven't heard anyone say that in forever.
Honestly, the only people that I hear say the word Negro is my Black friends who are talking about racist white people when they talk about racist white people referring to Black people. And I think it's a way not to say that a white person, like deciding a white person is using the N word and that Negro just comes up with more classy. But white racist people aren't openly going to talk to me. I don't have that vibe. I have resting bitch face and also resting don't be racist with me face. So
I don't know how they see that. Don't be racist with me, unless you have your kids with you. So how far is too far? If you are a racist in America, and I almost feel like this is a rhetorical question, is the president of the United States now telling you that it's okay? I recently had an experience in the Harley Davidson motorcycle dealership in the service department, where I was standing next to a gentleman who was wearing his riding jacket that had combat veterans patch on the back, American flag on the front, some other things on the side and the back, and in the middle, right below his neck at the top of the jacket, was the Confederate flag. And I wonder if, let me tell you what I believe, but it's not to let the racists off the hook. I do believe that there are some people who are not well read, just like the young Black lady at the post office I shared on Facebook said, we don't have any more people on stamps, but we have these people. She didn't know what Kwanzaa was, right? Well, there's white folks that exhibit that patch as Southern pride and being part of the gang and don't know. But a man who was about my age or a little younger wearing it, he knows what the Confederate flag is. And I wonder how deeply they understand it. I wonder if they understand it to the point of, it wasn't just a war where someone stepped on someone's foot and another person got mad and pulled out a gun and this the shooting commenced. This was a situation where the states, some of the United States that were Southern United States in the Union, decided to succeed. And there were articles of succession from each state. They wrote these articles of succession to secede from the United States of America. And the primary reason was to hold on to their economic benefit of free labor to drive their agrarian economy based on the labor of enslaved Africans, i.e. the slaves. So this is very deliberate. And they wear this damn thing around. I'm tired of making the analogies because we haven't told the real history, but I have to make an analogy. It would be like people walking around Frankfurt or any other city in Germany with swastika patches. And this is what these guys are doing. So as Andrew Gillum said to Rick DeSantis in the gubernatorial race, which he lost in Florida, after DeSantis accused Gillum of calling him a racist, Gillum said, Mr. DeSantis, I'm not something to this nature. I'm not calling you a racist, but the racists believe you're a racist. So clearly we're far, far beyond dog whistles. And Jay made a good point last time. People should ask the right questions. Sometimes I think the reporters are the problem, not for the same reason that Donald Trump's saying. But if a man says to a group of people, you have good genes, a good reporter is supposed to say to him afterwards, and so where are the bad genes? Do all Americans not have good genes? And so who has good genes in America and who doesn't? What do you got, Jay?
Regarding the Confederate flag, he makes the whole conversation harder to have and less constructive. I think that there are Southerners who feel that the Confederate flag is a part of their heritage, right? Because they've grown up with it and they never were challenged about it, and they are proud of it. They may not think of racism immediately, but I do think that most people who either wear it put it on their vehicles or have it in their front yards, they know that a great number of the people in their inner circle use the N-word regularly and have contempt for people who are Black. Then I think there are people who very proudly tout that flag because they are staunch racists and they want you to know it. They are in your face racist. They're daring you to say something to them. I think you do have those two groups. And we have to, unfortunately, navigate those two groups, especially for those of us who live in the South. I think that what Donald Trump has done is he basically has emboldened the people who want to wear it publicly to say, you can wear it. You can wear it. You don't have to be politically correct. Don't worry about those people. They're too sensitive anyway. Who cares what they think? And that's part of why his followers love him, because he has given them permission to say what they want, how they want, and when they want. And he has said that to have a unified nation, we don't necessarily have to respect one another's sensitivities. We don't have to respect one another's history. We don't have to try to understand one another. And that's pretty much the message that he keeps sending. And they like hearing that, the people who are the staunch racists. I think for those people who believe that for them the flag is just about heritage and tradition, my concerns are this. If you call yourself a patriot, then I think you need to give up that flag, right? Because you lost the war. So don't call yourself a patriot because America is not the Confederacy. That's the first thing I would say. But if you must hold on to your flag and it means that much to you and your family, all right, do what you need to do. Don't bring it out of the house. Don't subject the rest of us to it. I don't think they should have to. I think that it's kind of like Black people, you know, and W.E.B. Du Bois spoke about this in The Soul of Black Folk, right? We live a double consciousness. We speak one way, perhaps at home and in our communities. We behave a certain way, we're comfortable there. And it's not that that way is threatening to others, but in order to kind of assimilate into society, we behave according to the circumstances in the environment. We speak a certain way, dress a certain way when we're away from our personal communities. And I think that for those people who love the Confederate flag and say that it is not to be offensive to non-whites, fine, continue to love it, but love it at home. Don't wear it on your jacket. I don't really want to see that. I think that that is a little bit incendiary.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. What do you got, Elisa?
I think that we've actually discussed the Confederate flag on as a group before, and I have really strong feelings about the disrespect the flag represents to our country. And Kenny, as you were saying, you know, each state wrote a letter of succession separating themselves from the Union. They elected a president. They had a White House. I've driven past it. Like they had not a White House, they had a presidential house. Like they had a whole nother government. They were ready to be their own country. They then went to war against what you now live in, like our country. And so you're flying a treasonous flag when you fly that flag. Now I think I want to, it's a horrible analogy, but I want to say it's, you know, we all have bad eating habits that you may have picked up as a child. And, you know, like if you become sick as an adult, you know, you're not supposed to eat certain foods, but it becomes so ingrained in who you are when you know, at the cookout, you're going to eat banana pudding and you know you're diabetic. Like, you know, you're not supposed to. And I think that for some people, that's what the Confederate flag is. It's that they were taught as a child, you're supposed to hold on to your heritage, you're supposed to embrace it. This is a Southern thing. It's not an American thing. So if you're going to be disrespectful to our Senate representatives who came here from another country, and you're going to be disrespectful based on where they came from, you can't then say it's okay to praise people who fought against our country. And that's what, when you put those Confederate statues up in this day and age, I'm fine with you leaving the ones that are already here. But when you go and erect new ones and you make it a 10-year crime to deface these statues, you're sending a message to the South. And I think historically, the South in our country has been the epicenter of the most consistently violent acts towards people who are not white. I know white people have had some issues in the South too, but I'm saying historically, Black people don't fare well in the South when it comes to aggression from white people. And I think that when you're sending that message to Southern people with their pride about their Confederate flags that, I'm going to put them in jail for 10 years. You're telling them it's because how you feel is okay. The fact that you feel left behind by the country is okay. And we're going to make sure you're remembered. Where's the Nat Turner statue? Like, this man he stood up for his beliefs. Where's his statue? And I think that's where Trump is very deliberate in his message, but then his followers don't see how inappropriate that message is.
And so that's why what you're describing describes both the idea that he is racist and playing to this, but he's also crazy like a fox.
Mm-hmm.
We've also been willing to let bygones be bygones for the sake of getting along, if you will, and enjoying things that we all enjoy together. For example, sports. Everybody knows, who knows anything about this man and sports in the University of Alabama, that Bear Bryant was a racist. Okay. But I'm not going to say racist like the devil, right? What is done is done is done. We don't throw people out with the bathwater because they're racist alone if they made some serious accomplishments. But I think to sweep it under the rug and never talk about it is an interesting thing. I shared with you guys earlier, the University of Alabama played a football game against the University of Southern California, who had O.J. Simpson, and Bear Bryant basically said, I got to get me some of those Negroes. I had to say that word. But he didn't want them before. But after that shellacking by O.J. Simpson, they decided yes. Same thing happened at the University of Kentucky, which is known for basketball. Basketball mecca, right? Basketball shrine. Adolph Rupp Arena at the University of Kentucky in Lexington. Everyone knows who Adolph Rupp was, but no one talks about it. We just talk about basketball. So we've done that for years. Black people have been willing to participate and just let bygones be bygones. The problem now is that it's the president of the United States perpetuating this stuff. Hell, we always knew that the statues of Confederate heroes, if you will, were mind-boggling and offensive. But we just let bygones be bygones because we're no longer being lynched. We no longer have to go in the back doors. We no longer have to use different bathrooms. But now that these things are public and they're pushing back on it is what the problem is. It's like this. One of the things my pastor shared with me today is he works for the federal government, and you can't have any political paraphernalia on you, like a mask. Your mask, you can't come to work with a mask that says Biden, and you can't come to work with a mask that says Trump. Neither. But there's a woman where he works that's been wearing this Trump mask. And it's been rules forever, but Trump has emboldened his base so much that now this woman is fighting it. So this has been the deal forever in this department, but now she's fighting it because she wants to stand up for Trump, right? So he was telling me that, interestingly, and this is not too far down the rabbit hole, but this is how people are willing. I shared a book with you guys at one point that's called Dying of Whiteness. And so people are willing to say, I don't want that Obamacare if it's going to save their life, just to kill it. And this woman will probably lose her job because he was telling me the method that they're probably going to use is to take her government clearance. Well, they can't take your job, but they can take your clearance. And if they take your clearance, you can't do your job. It's like, and I said to him, so that would be like if I said, I'm going to leave you your motorcycle, but I'm going to take your tires. And he went, yep, just like that. So what do you got, Jay?
I don't know. There's so much in that. No, I mean, there is. I feel like where we are right now is that we need to be able to, this is the most critical time to be able to have the discussions that we're having, the discussions that we need to have. But it is really difficult. And I think for Black people, and I can only speak for me, let me just speak for me. It's particularly hard because, you know, we talk about being tired. And part of why we're tired is because for so long, we just kind of tolerated a lot. And it probably did not seem to white America like we were tolerating a lot, because they didn't know, right? We didn't always have that voice. And then we took things in steps, right? Because hell, we were just happy that we could vote. We were happy we could go to schools. We were happy with what we were given, but we had to fight to get, not just given, because we had to fight for it. And the fight itself is exhausting. And then there was always this undercurrent of just certain things you needed to accept and you needed to move on, and maybe that got better. And some things we never even thought about. I think that in the last 20 years, we've seen a lot of literature and people speaking about this awareness we've come into about all of the subtle ways in which we were oppressed, all of the subtle signs, the toys that didn't represent Black people, magazine covers and TV shows and movies. And we came to understand that, you know, we'd accepted all of this because that's just how life was for us. So we are now at a place where there's a constant outcry about all of the things that are unfair. And I understand that it's hard for white America because some of the things that we're talking about are just subtleties to them, nuances to them. Because they look at it like, well, hell, you just had a Black president. What are you unhappy for? But part of why we're unhappy, it is that constant, like just having to kind of tolerate certain things. What you described happened to you yesterday. You had to stand in a store and you stood behind a customer who had on a jacket with a Confederate flag on it. And, you know, maybe he didn't mean harm by it, but he certainly probably knows that that flag is offensive to some people and he didn't care. He's wearing it in public. And the feelings that you had, you know, you had a choice. You could have confronted him, but where would that really have gotten you, right? And so we know that there's certain behavior we can't engage in as much as we would like to. We can't confront every white person that we feel has insulted us, and that becomes exhausting. And that it gets to a boiling point, and I think that's where we are right now. And then you have those subtle things, and then you have the major things. And at this point, we're just tired of having to tell America that the major things are not okay. The major things, like police killing people who are innocent, and that when that happens, there needs to be some recourse that is fair and that is just. And so at this point, we know we have to keep having the conversations. It's hard to find the energy because what you really want to do sometimes is talk to somebody in a way that you know would never be constructive because you just want to get it off your chest because you're so tired of being angry and you're so tired of being polite and you're so tired of having to teach things that you feel people should know. Just as some of white America is tired of being politically correct, well, we're tired of trying to tell some of America why they need to be more human. And so it's just perpetual exhaustion.
That was a lot of the sermon today. The sermon was about being tired and being decent and taking the high road in the midst of all this stuff. And he talked a lot about Jeremiah from the Bible and how Jeremiah took a lot, and understood it like playing the dozens. But when they laid their hands on him, he was like, God, I don't know about this. I can't deal with this part. And sometimes you just want to throw your hands up and say, what the hell? Why are we going to even be nice to each other? Let's just go all in kind of thing. But as Christians, he gave some other examples, and he talked about, you know, there's not any quit in Jeremiah because, like us being tired, and I'm speaking of this, and this was part of the sermon in church today, because when God puts something in you, an assignment to do, you may try to go the opposite direction as Jonah did, but then that fish was there designed to bring him back because there was no quit on him. Because if God has something in you and he's called you to do that, even from the womb, you can't quit because it's what he's called you to do. So as Black folks, there's a lot of that in us where there's just no quit. You have to persevere and survive with that. And that's all people, but specifically without from the pulpit ever talking about Donald Trump and politics, I think everybody understood what he was talking about. All right, I got another comment, Elisa, and then we're going to get out of here.
No, you can wrap us.
All right, well, another show, and we'll see you next time. Same bat channel, same bat place. And as Franklin Ferguson says, peace and God bless.
God bless.